Ignite Denver like in the last 3 years?
Good.
All right. How many of you actually came to an Ignite prior to 2014? Okay.
Thank you.
So for you three people, you're already well familiar with Jared.
Yeah, thank you for all that adoration.
Jared was my predecessor before I got to take control of the mic and become the host. And it's become such an amazing event, I told him he needed to come back. So we're doing this together tonight.
Yeah, thank you. At intermission, we're going to turn on Donna Summer, and I'll spin my bald head like a disco ball.
It's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, just to get everybody familiarized, these are our speakers. I'm guessing a couple of you might know some of them. Yeah, oh, and there's one way down there. Your butt's blocking her last name.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the notoriety you want.
That's Amanda, yeah. And we're live streaming. So guys, if you had friends that bailed on you, you can shame them or invite them to watch online. Because we are live. So if you have friends around the country, nay, the world, they too can participate in the revelry that is Ignite Denver.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are outside. Is everybody well fed? It's awesome. It's like your mom pulled up on a van and is feeding everybody. So we have that. We have beverages.
Yes.
We have, and bathrooms.
You can pee here.
Yes.
The ladies' room is on that side. The men's room is over there. Ladies, leave your purses or whatever with a friend. Those stalls are itty-bitty. So just be forewarned. By the way, smoking is allowed outside, drinks are not. So keep that in mind too. All right, what's next? Oh, the next one. Ignite Denver 27 is October 12th, and tonight, yes, Jared, tonight, you can buy tickets, buy one, get one online. Yeah, I know, right? Next time, I might not wear the tank top underneath. We just don't know. Your turn.
Okay, well, I don't know how to follow that. You probably can see my giant areolas through my gray t-shirt. So, shouldn't be no, I've signaled planes with these on accident. So, but these are the people that do stuff for free. They got Kat, who's right here. Yeah. Vanessa Terrell, John Wilker. John Wilker and Dan Stones are not here tonight.
They're dead to us.
Yeah.
Not really.
We got Pete Winter Sheet, who looks a little like Corey Feldman. I don't know if anybody's ever told him that. Shauna Urbanski, Stephanie Vale. Shauna, I'm sorry, I just gave Stephanie a ton more emphasis. So, Shauna Urbanski. And Sarah
Tamori.
Yep. And of course, Ethan Crawford, who's been doing video for years for Ignite Denver and all just in free time. So please a big hand for all the volunteers.
Not only that, but we had volunteers outside allowing you to come inside. Their names are behind us, and we are very grateful to them. If you would like to volunteer in any future Ignite Denvers, please see one of us after the show. Huh? Yeah, I'm not gonna, yep. Oh, hey, and we are going to start something new with Ignite Denver 27.
We're gonna have kids.
Yes. Nope, that's with Ignite 26. You'll learn more about that in a second. But we are going to be supporting a charity, and the one in October is going to be for Denver kids. They support underprivileged youth and their education stuff.
Hey kids, get inspired.
It'll help you talk good. Oh, look at that. I got my name in big letters.
Are you guys getting the feeling that we're those inspirational singers that would come to your high school? You know, we would blend sermons into like hand waving up with people songs. Yeah, it could happen. I'm gonna have more of that jungle juice they have on the counter. I think it's Jessica and Natalie who are your bartenders, by the way.
You are smarter than me because I did not get their names.
I checked. So make sweet love to them with your wallet, take care of them, and they'll take care of you.
You can make sweet love to me with your wallet as well. I'm putting it out there.
No, you should. You're just putting it out in general. What? Did I?
I don't know. You made a joke and I didn't get it. Okay.
That's good.
Hey, guys.
We're not ever invited back to your high school. Islands in the stream.
Nope. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is actually do a Spark.
That's right.
A 5-minute presentation, and we've never done this before with 2 people. So
that means no rehearsal.
None. Not one. So is this where we're going, Vanessa? Okay, yep. So we're gonna kick this off so you can see what these talks look like, but not really, because usually there's 1 person instead of 2. Can I have a big round of applause just for the hell of it? Okay.
Good. Good job.
Yeah. All right. So welcome to Ignite Denver 26. If any of you have seen this young gentleman dance on Saturday Night Live with Katy Perry, he's phenomenal. He does something like this. I can't do it, which is why I'm not on Katy Perry videos. Go.
And my name is Jared, and here's a picture of me on a horse. I wasn't quite ready of me for that slide, but no, Kat and I are a lot alike. It's like I'm her, but without hair, and the ability to make it my own baby in my belly.
And we want to give a big round of applause. How many of you, by round of applause, have never been here before? We're staring at you, and we're so happy that you're here. Just like the booby. All right.
And we just should remind everybody that Ignite Denver crowds are amazing.
Yeah, so good.
Listen, don't even applaud yourselves, because that's a jerk thing to do. No, I'm actually talking to the speakers kind of right now, because some of them are like, what the hell did I just decide to do?
These slides go very quickly, by the way.
Faster than I remember.
Yep, 5 minutes are the talks, and each of the slides advance every 15 seconds. For those of you who like math, that's 20 total slides.
I'm so scared. Kat Atwell found this picture under the carpet of the condo she just moved into. I'm sure it's a good thing, but it's a reminder that there could be some disturbing material tonight. So prepare yourselves, although nothing will be more disturbing than that.
And nobody is selling you shit tonight.
None.
So.
None. Except for Kat and her body, no one will be shilling. You did that to yourself.
All right, wait, so this is our talk. And as Jared suggested, he and I are very similar, except he's a little prettier. And we have done public speaking and comedy in all sorts of places,
everywhere.
Both serious and scary.
If you have a bris, a bar mitzvah, a birthday, a lady's day out, a funeral that needs a little life, we entertain.
Yes.
That was a play on words that just snuck up on me, all right? That's what happens when you're a dad. I did radio for years for virtually free. That's what we do.
And we have no dignity at all when we do these things.
Look at Kat here. She's wearing tight spandex and a scarf stolen from a matador. If you look in the distance, you'll see she's wearing a knee brace. She injured herself to entertain people for free, people.
Twice. And on the subject of people with no dignity, that's Jared as Lady Gaga, I believe.
That's right.
And we both really enjoy spandex, as you can see from the second picture down below.
This is what we do. And
no dignity.
We do this because we're people pleasers.
We sure are.
I have a friend who makes actual money, and she gave me the book, The Disease to Please, and I didn't read it for weeks until finally I read it just to make her happy.
That's totally valid. Because here's the thing. We make jokes about how, we just love doing this, and we're pretty darn good at it, but, this is a spare time deal because of our self-esteem challenges.
And our need to be appreciated by your huge round of applause.
Yeah.
Should I tell the Comcast story, or do we have time for that?
I don't know. We can see. Nope.
No.
All right. So,
okay.
So this is where we kind of went backwards. This is where we tell you, although we're joking and laughing about this, these are normal stage facades, but inside we are tiny and curled into fetal position because we don't want to let you down.
It's like our inner child is an actual baby.
Right, now you get to talk about Ashley.
Okay. Ashley Kingsley is one of our combined friends, or mutual friend. That's a weird to say. we were talking about someone who criticizes for not valuing our self-worth, and we realized it was the same person.
It was.
So we wanted to recognize her.
We sure did, because we want to have the same confidence as, say, Helen Mirren.
Look at her.
That's Helen Mirren. And like Bentley. Bentley doesn't spend any money on marketing because they know they're fucking amazing cars.
That's a PT Cruiser.
It is not.
Just a reminder to the speakers and everyone here that this tiny goldfish with a fin is representative of all of us scared on the inside and faking it until you make it.
Bravado.
You're watching that happen right here. Keep on faking it, people.
And Jared and I, obviously not selling ourselves, but recognize that someday if we start believing in ourselves, our passion can turn into money. Someday like a butterfly and fly off, but until then...
We're doing it for free.
Yes!
As is everybody here. And
right.
somehow you're supposed to tip the bartender. If you do, that's a huge just kick in the door to karma.
Right.
I don't know what that meant. Okay.
Now, Jared's going to leave the stage.
Oh, I am? I was
Yeah,
gonna
you
say,
sure are.
No, I'm part of the thing. Remember, you were going to say what her mom wanted to say about her.
Oh, right. Okay. I apologize. My phone is out here for a reason. Our first speaker is Nicole.
Mughelli.
All right. And Nicole, yeah.
Yeah, you should. You really should. You really should.
For the first time ever, we have a 13-year-old about to grace our stage.
Yeah.
Which means we also have the mother of a 13-year-old here.
Yeah.
Who asked
Everybody on your best behavior.
Best behavior. I'm sorry about the F-bomb I already dropped. Okay. So this is what I am supposed to introduce Nicole with because I do not want to piss off a mom. All right. Nicole Mughelli, 13-year-old entrepreneur, award-winning author, and animator. It's to make me feel really good about myself.
Everybody give her your resume now.
Right. And with Nicole, whenever she thinks of the finer things in life, she thinks of books to read, paper and pen to draw, and unlimited sushi.
And now that we got out of the way what her mom wanted us to say, and that is a very loving mother who wanted to take care of her daughter.
My mom wouldn't have said that.
I greatly appreciate it. Because, like, this is a rock and roll auditorium with a green room that's like a petri dish with a couch. And, I mean, it's weird, like, just letting your daughter go backstage. But let me just tell you one thing, and this is pretty much all you need to know before you lift the roof off the Oriental Theatre, is that you're about to see this woman, and she is 13 years old. So please, Ignite Denver, give it up to Nicole Mughelli!
Legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. If you're Hamil trash like me, you probably recognize this quote from Hamilton. This part of the song always stuck with me, and I can't seem to stop thinking about it. So, what is a legacy? Does it matter? Why make one in the first place? Basically, legacies are made to avoid the inevitable, being forgotten, because we'll all be forgotten one day. Even incredible people like Steve Jobs, Marie Curie, Martin Luther King Jr. will all be forgotten eventually. But what they did will live on. Their legacies will live on. Their legacies affected the entire future. They changed everything. Because of amazing people like these, the world is like infinity times better than if they had never existed in the first place. The people who create legacies will die and be forgotten along with the rest of us, but their legacies are immortal. Legacies do affect the future, but they're definitely not made in the future. They're what we do today. You're probably wondering, why is a 13-year-old talking about legacy? I have my whole life ahead of me, right? Well, maybe not. Kalhonaho, tomorrow may never arrive. I'm not sure. I'm talking about legacy because legacy is what shapes the world around us. All my role models, Steve Jobs, Anne Frank, Walt Disney, and so many more, they all left a legacy. And I'm starting to make mine too. When I was 12 years old, I founded my company and 3 cartoons. That same year, I wrote and illustrated my first graphic novel, The Adventures of Kate the Cat, which won the 2016 Moonbeam Children's Book Award for Best Book by Youth Author. Last November, I published my second book, Kate the Cat's Christmas Mystery. And I know with these books, I'm impacting the lives of everyone who reads them. When people tell me how much they enjoy my books, it makes me feel really happy, and I feel like I'm making a difference. For me, that's my legacy. Because legacy isn't what you leave for you. It's how you impact the lives of the people around you. And legacy, if we simplify it, it's actually the combination of three important things. The first of which is passion. Passion is that surging, burning flame inside each and every single one of us. It's sort of like a conscience. It tells you whether you like something or whether you might not, like a job, a hobby, or a sport. Your passions make you, you. They drive you to be the very best version of yourself that you can be. So passion is the fire that fuels our legacy. The second thing you need for a legacy is vision. Vision is the visualization of your destination. There's this one part in Alice in Wonderland where Alice is talking to the Cheshire Cat. She's asking him for directions. So she walks up to him and she's like, excuse me, Mr. Cheshire Cat, will you tell me which way I ought to go from here? That depends on where you want to get to. I don't really care where. Well, then it doesn't matter which path you take. So vision is like a roadmap that guides you to your destination. The last and most important thing you need for a legacy is action. One of my favorite quotes is, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Remind yourself of your vision every day. So Steve Jobs every day would wake up and ask himself this very important question. If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? If the answer is no for too long, it means you have to change something. It means you have to take action. And if you don't know what to do, consider this. Every problem in the whole world has one solution. It's a fairly vague solution, but it's vague on purpose. And that solution is, all of us have to learn the value of the things and people around us and help each other. So, just in small steps. So if you want your legacy to change the world, all you have to do is help the people around you. So, and that will never be forgotten. So, what's your legacy? Thank you.
Hey, good job. That's great. That's great. Nicole Mughelli. That was awesome. So remember what she said, not only for inspiration, but so you can impress her in the job interview. You know, you get this reminder, you motivated me. Okay, so our next speaker, this is what I understand. Our next speaker has her son in the audience, and he just graduated kindergarten. Yeah. Elliot, you don't have to say anything. If you want to stand up and count to 5, that's cool. But congratulations, buddy. Your mom is super proud, and now you're about to be super proud of her. Our next speaker, she is the moderator for Denver Open Coffee Club. That's every other Tuesday. You can learn more at denveropencoffee.club. It's a great thing. I actually got my job at name.com there. I went there, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and I figured it out. Very smart people talking about all the latest tech news. So she does that at the Denver Open Coffee Club. She's a product manager at Mojo Tech, and she is here to share tonight at Ignite Denver. Please give it up to Shaughnessy Spears.
I have a husband, a son, a dad, 2 brothers, and I work in software development. I'm not counting, but that's a lot of dudes. So I take my female friendships very importantly, and I'll tell you a story to talk about why. I used to be convinced about all these lies about myself. I don't know if other women have told themselves these untruths. They get along better with guys, or girls just don't like me, or whatever. I don't think this way anymore, and I'll tell you why. So in 2010, I was getting married. It's a very high anxiety time for anybody, right? But it was especially anxiety inducing for me. I suffer from chronic anxiety and depression. And so I was, understandably or not, behaving poorly, alienating my friends, isolating myself, 2 hours late to my own bridal shower kind of behavior, right? But I had one close friend who, rather than giving herself more distance from me, actually, she did the opposite. She saw what was happening, and she, one day, shortly before my wedding, she took me to an abandoned lot, and she spread out a blanket, and on that blanket, she laid out a menagerie of glass and ceramic that she had bought at Goodwill, and she handed me a golf club. And then she took photos for posterity, right? Because she got it, right? She understood what I was going through. She saw me at a time when I was feeling particularly vulnerable, and she chose to stay close to me. She made herself a home in my heart. And 8 years later, we're still close friends, even though I'm really not close with any of those girls in my bridal party anymore because of how difficult that was. And in the years since, she's taught me a great deal about friendship and how to be friends with other women. The first thing is to admire each other, right? Compliment each other relentlessly. I'm talking about endless amounts of praise. Have you ever heard a couple of female BFFs get in a compliment war with each other? You look awesome. You look so hot tonight. Oh my gosh. It's really beautiful. And affirming, right? And we need that in a world that constantly tears us down. Commiseration, right? We go through a lot as women in America, women in the world, lots of struggle and sometimes humiliation. And commiseration, bitching about it is a time-honored tradition, right, ladies? We need that from each other. And there are some things that you just can't bitch about with the men in your software development consultancy. No offense. Vulnerability is another one. Trusting each other, apologizing for making mistakes, being humble, forgiving each other, even when they haven't asked. This was an important one. She forgave me, and I hadn't necessarily asked for it yet. That was something that stuck with me for a long time. And protectiveness, right? A sense of guardianship over each other's feelings, a sense that your friend's welfare belongs to you. Jamie has defended me pretty fiercely at times, and I'll always be grateful to her for that. Shortly after the election, another close friend of mine held a women-only fundraiser at her house, a very intimate gathering. And she had us sit in a circle and talk about how we were feeling and what we were afraid of and what to do next. And it felt like I was participating in something ancient, right? It felt like for a second we could transcend the expectation that we compete with and undermine each other. It took me years to learn how much tremendous power women have to uphold each other. And my hope is that it doesn't take some of you quite as long. Thank you.
Hug your friends, girls. I have a lot of girlfriends in the audience right now. Several of whom I haven't met yet, but I could. I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. We are live tweeting, and we would encourage you to pull your phones out at any given time and feel free to hashtag Ignite Denver. And if you want to talk to me, I'm at Kat Atwell. Jared is at Jared Iwi, because we are sneaky like that, and we will hopefully be able to communicate with you from backstage. But enough about Twitter and all other social media. The next speaker that we have this evening, her name is Elise, and couple things about her. I ask, for those of you who have not been here before, I like to ask our speakers probing questions that are really weird so that I have fun stuff to introduce them with. And one of the questions that I asked was what their favorite app was. And Elise said, I don't have apps, I use my phone for calling people. Yeah, she does. Also, for the 6 of you that still like to talk on the phone, see me afterwards, I am one of you. Yeah. And Elise said for her guilty pleasure, she would like to ride around on her Arabian horse while eating Swiss chocolate and not worrying about her clothes shrinking. Very specific and very sexy. So without further ado, please, a large round of applause for Elise.
Hello. I have transient amnesia. This means my brain lives in parallel universes. I don't know where I'm at, but yet I must logically think through the day. This, as a scientist, fascinates me. I see myself completely evaporating through into dust. I know when I enter amnesia, and yet I do not know anything about myself. I become a blank slate. True story. One Saturday morning, I woke up early. I took my Sede out. We're not moving. We're stuck. Well, let's do a little improv here without the F-bomb. Too bad my Arabian horse isn't here to entertain you. This is Sede. We went out early one Saturday morning to let her do her thing. It was early, so we went back to bed. About 8:30, I woke up. I did not know where I was, and I did not know who I was. I had visions of horses in my mind. Who are these creatures? I looked to the right, and the pillow was unfussed. I thought, I live by myself. Who am I? Where do I live? I had no clue. And then suddenly, a dog jumped on the bed, and I thought, what a wonderful way to wake up. Who are you? And she flopped down beside me. And that's when I looked at her tag. It said home again. 2 cats came, one with the most beautiful turquoise eyes, bled off to pearl, another with orange eyes matching his orange fur. This is my family. I don't know. Then we walked out into the next room. It was totally unfamiliar. I looked for the cat food and fed them and the dog food. I saw a phone. I picked up the receiver. It had a list of names. I saw Carol. That's familiar. Let me call her. She said, hello, Elise, how are you? In a somber tone, I said, I have amnesia. Who's the dog and who are the horses? I have no clue. She told me about the horses and that he's been with me for 13 years and he saved my life. They're about 2 miles away. I must get to him. And I found the bridge, and she told me about the blue sign to look for. We got closer, and I was like, oh, yes, there they are. But first, we have to get to the parking lot. And there were 60 cars, and I didn't know which car was mine. She ran out to the car, and I flashed the lights. She was sitting. I said, smart dog. As I drove to my Arabians, I was getting excited because ahead there was a blue sign, and she was getting excited. She was recognizing it. She's smarter than I am. We pulled in, and everybody said hello, and there's my Arabian waiting for me. I threw my arms around his neck, and I felt safe. There was a profound solidification inside of me, and I spent time with him, never speaking a word, and yet he understood every motion that I made. He understood my behavior, and I thought, this is very interesting. You know what I'm thinking before I can be my own lab rat. I can study myself. 10 million people are affected with traumatic brain injuries every single year around the globe, and other brain disorders. I have a new quest. Ideas flooded my brain. I can study brain spotting, bringing the subconscious to the conscious level. Why didn't I think of this before? There are so many people that could benefit if we could just help them understand. I studied neuroscience, the reaction of a reptilian brain, the organization of the frontal lobe. I studied the limbic system, the heart of the brain. It began clearly. My horse is a neuroscientist. He was teaching me neural behavior. Without words, he just responded. So this started a new quest, ideas, and the fact that I could begin to understand the emergence of a subconscious consciously and begin to relate in a different way, internal. In April and Monday, I abated 2 amnesia episodes with cognitive neurobehavior recognition. Thank you. There are times in our lives when we have a catastrophic event, and we come up with solutions that for decades they can be built upon, and we do this for the sake of humanity. Thank you.
Michelle, Elise, thank you. These are good speakers. I don't know if you've seen this, but they've been getting mid-pitch applause, and I hear that and just run out on the stage. I've done it twice there, so I just have to sturdy myself and be aware that these speakers are killing it and they're getting applause throughout. And I love the Ignite crowd. I love the Ignite crowd because, we rarely have hecklers, and when we do, they say, "You got this." That's beautiful. I teared up there. That was so solid. That was a magical moment. I don't know who that was, that encouraging voice in the dark, but that was amazing. Well, our next speaker, he's going to talk about virtual reality, but his real reality is pretty awesome. He started an organization called Spark Mindset that helps underserved youth. So he's already awesome, no matter what happens out here over the next 5 minutes, but he's going to impress you because, well, this is a guy whose guilty pleasure, and he fully admitted this, is Little Debbie raisin cream cakes. Why the raisins, Lawrence? Raisins, gosh, you think it's a chocolate chip and, So the worst. So I admire this guy for getting the raisins off the market. So he does a lot. He does a lot of good stuff. You're about to see that. Please, Ignite, give it up to Mr. Lawrence Wagner.
So our education system is rarely innovative. It's actually 100 years old. And the system was actually set up to actually put people in positions, create classes, but not for equality or lifelong learning. Enter virtual reality. With virtual reality, I'm hoping to shrink the income equality gap. I'm Lawrence Wagner, and I'm from the projects of Cleveland, Ohio. And I stayed there until I was 10 years old. My mom, Larry, remarried, and I moved into a new neighborhood where I learned to overcome struggles because of alcoholism and abuse. At 13, I went to a wealthy school in Cleveland, Ohio, and was tormented and bullied because of the color of my skin and being poor. I left that school with no confidence, but to escape, I joined the military. So while I was in the military, I was accepted to West Point Prep. And if I would have went through the program, I would have went to West Point Academy. But because of my lack of confidence, I turned it down. Due to getting out the Army, I struggled to find meaning in life. But through counseling, I went and got my master's degree at the age of 38. You may think I have a success story, but poverty is common in the United States. 1 out of 5 kids are born into poverty, all right? And through being born through poverty, they don't all get out like I did. A lot of them don't graduate high school. A lot of them end up being unemployed and be part of adult poverty. So, women who are with children without a father figure are likely to be poor. According to the US Bureau of Census, actually 53.8% fall into that category. Minority men is part of the cradle to prison system where race and poverty, along with economic depression and underperforming schools, put them in a system like this. And that's why, because of my past, I created Spark Mindset. Spark Mindset is a social enterprise that empowers underserved youth through education and financial literacy training. As a part of this project, we're working with the University of Maryland, Savinco, and some other organizations to create a virtual reality educational gaming platform that teaches cybersecurity, coding, and entrepreneurship. This state-of-the-art program allows students to go at their own pace, depending on how they advance throughout the program and the knowledge that they gain. We'll be doing data metrics and other skills that will be measured, so the students will be able to achieve better than what the standards are set at schools right now. Students will learn skills like cybersecurity and coding while having fun. They also will have the ability to help their other students and gain rewards and prizes and badges along the way. We'll do videos that teach growth mindset and teach critical thinking that allows students to overcome their challenges. We'll teach them how to work with teams. We'll teach them how to collaborate, because our system don't do that. 15% of Spark Mindset's revenue, along with grants, will go into this program. And in this program, we will provide kids with VR goggles and tablets and to those in the underserved communities so they can take the program. We want our students to feel like they can do what they want to do and not feel like they have to do what they're told. That they are in control of their life, that they can be successful and empowered, and they can break poverty in their generation and generations behind them. So I have a dream, and that dream is that we can build the character in youth and underserved communities, at the same time shrinking the income equality gap through virtual reality. Thank you.
I'm going to stand here, which is awkward for me because our next speaker wants the mic in the stand. And another thing for those of you that have not come here, I'm very intimidated by mic stands, like real bad. I'm doing this into the dark, into a dark abyss. Anyway, so Carlin, who's totally not nervous right now, you guys. One, girl's rocking a romper, for real. And like, for real, she looks amazing. She was very worried about the questions that I'd asked, and she's like, I don't think mine are funny. I'm like, oh, just wait. So, and you know what? She said that she has zero guilt about her guilty pleasure, which is chocolate and peanut butter, because duh. Her favorite app is Shark Tracker. And right, of course it is. And she's like, yeah, you know, any of the sharks that have been tagged, you can watch them. And then just backstage, she's like, but only East Coast sharks, not West Coast sharks. So, Maria. And also, I'm really tempted to call her George, because when she introduced herself, she's like, it's Carlin, like George. So, that being said, please give a big round of applause for George Shaw, everybody.
Hi there. So, bubbles make everything better. My journey began with bubbles in 2010 when I was living in San Diego and I was taking a class with the book The Artist's Way at a time in my life when I was lacking a little self-confidence and direction in my own creativity. So one week, my amazing teacher gave us the assignment to take a bottle of bubbles into a place we've never been to before, surrounded by people, blow them, write down the response from the people around us, and write down our own response. So I decided to pick a coffee shop and excitedly threw the bubbles into my bag. Why did I pick a coffee shop? Because typically when you go to a coffee shop, everyone's just buried in their laptops and they're not really engaged with each other. So I found a table all to myself, I sat down, and I went to pull the bubbles out, and I realized there was this feeling in me. And what was it? It was resistance. But all of a sudden, I stepped through that resistance, I blew the bubbles, and I did it. And I didn't die. Because it was kind of scary, right? Blowing bubbles inside of a coffee shop. But that's when the guy in front of me noticed that since the fan was on overhead, the bubbles actually blew back in my face. So he insisted that I turn around and maybe the fan wouldn't blow in my face. So I turned around and I blew them, and the guy behind me now picks up and he goes, oh my gosh, you're so cute, what are you doing? Now I immediately start writing down everyone's responses. And before I know it, I have these two guys engaged in a conversation. And now the other guy on the couch, he's curious what we're doing, and he comes to join us too. And before I know it, we're sharing stories about bubbles. In fact, the first guy, he took bubbles with him to Costa Rica when he travels, and he hands them out to little kids. So all of a sudden, I was learning more about the power of bubbles. And I was super excited to go back to class and share with everyone my story and learn theirs. So you can imagine my surprise when there was someone in my class that couldn't find time to blow bubbles, and someone in my class that only blew them out the car window while in traffic. And this is when I learned it wasn't a fun exercise, it was a fear exercise. And as my amazing teacher explained, fear is fuck everything and run, or face everything and recover. Now, can you imagine if I had allowed that little bit of resistance to keep me from blowing the bubbles in that coffee shop? I never would have experienced the joy that I felt from bringing everyone together and this confidence that I had in myself. I mean, I literally call bubbles bottles of confidence because I truly believe you're not just giving joy to others, but you're gifting yourself joy by blowing bubbles because you're attracting. And when it comes to, so one of my favorite ways to blow bubbles is taking them into a bar, let's say a biker bar. We're gonna blow them in a biker bar because we don't know how they're gonna react, but here's what happens. All the guys go like this. Because have you ever blown bubbles and someone's gotten mad? No one blows bubbles and gets mad. In fact, these bubbles right here are from my mom's wedding a few months ago. She ordered them because she knew they would make me happy. But most importantly, bubbles are bottles of joy and love. And that's what we're here to spread. Another way I like to blow bubbles is with dogs and cats and babies, because guess what? Animals and kids, they don't reason with joy. They don't question whether or not someone's gonna judge them or reject them or think that they're being silly. They just follow their heart and they go with it. And truly, you never know where a bubble journey will take you. In fact, I'm super honored to have one of my dear friends in the audience supporting me, my friend Alexa. And I'll tell you, I wrote a blog post about bubbles 4 years ago, and it's from that story that we connected. So literally, bubbles can become stories that can transcend into friendship. So I kind of want to challenge all of you. I want to challenge you to have awareness. I want to challenge you to go buy some bubbles and take them out with you, because guess what? It's actually impossible to frown while you blow them. Trust me, I've tried. They kind of just make a mess in your face. But I challenge you to go buy some bubbles, give them to your friends. If you find yourself feeling lonely or feeling uncomfortable or just wanting to add a little bit of joy to wherever you are, just pull them out. Thank you.
Carlin, people, and some bubbles. If you have kids, you know that one of the more stressful things is bubbles, because step one of blowing bubbles with a kid is them spilling it all over the place. They're just like, yay! So our next contestant, this is not a contest, folks, it's not a contest. That's right, everybody wins. All right, what? No, Lawrence, you won already, buddy. That was a great pitch. That was awesome. Okay, so our next speaker, when asked by Kat what his unlimited food would be, it would be tacos, which I totally get that. His guilty pleasure, high chews. God, I love high chews. My goal is to be an upstanding citizen of a paternal figure to my kids. But I get around high chews and I'm like, back off, zygote. I am just crazy. I start civilized one at a time and then I just kind of black out. And I've got a whole wad in my mouth, and weeping kids with empty bubble cups. So our next speaker enjoys high chews. He's a product manager at Nutrislice, which they provide the school lunches online. If you haven't bred yet, you're going to love that little thing. You can figure out if you have to pack a lunch or not. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, please ignite Denver. Let's give it up to Taj Moore.
Thank you. Here's my son. He's almost 5, and he holds all the cards. Because he has what I want the most, his love. Could be your boss, or your spouse, your friends, your neighbors, anybody who has what you want and might just hold it hostage. Which means you are in a negotiation. You are always negotiating. Whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not. My hope, when we're done, is that you understand a different side to negotiation than you might have been thinking about. So there are 2 sides to negotiation. We usually think about getting what we want, but the other side is understanding what they want. All right? So when you're walking along a trail, you're not thinking about the end. You're using your senses to negotiate the trail. I'm going to teach you about the listening that we need to handle that first part of negotiation. I'll give you 1 mantra and 2 tips for tactical empathy. The mantra, slow it down. You have time, much more than you realize, much more than you think. Calm it down, slow it down. Take breaks. Give it days. Tactical empathy tip number 1, mirroring. Mirroring Yes, you're going to reflect back. You're going to use the words that people are saying to you. You're going to, the last 2 or 3 things they say. 2 or 3 things they say, exactly. This draws them out. They start to open up and unfold and reveal things so that you're able to understand their perspective. Taking perspective is a key to listening so that you can see where they're coming from. You can see what might be motivating them in their side of the negotiation. And when you can take someone's perspective, it puts everything in a new light. It changes you. And it allows you to see if a storm is coming. It allows you to tell what is the emotional environment. That's especially important because if someone's charged up, they can't hear you. They need to know that you're listening to them. And you can show that by reflecting back what they've been saying and labeling it. So this is using your own words to show that you understand what they're saying, to show the situation that you have. And the language is specific. You're going to say, it sounds like, ... or it seems that, ... These are not I statements. You're not a part of it. You're talking about the puzzle that's in front of you so that you can both look at it and figure out how to solve it together. And when you can successfully do that, you engage the left hemisphere. Labeling is a rational part of your thinking. And that starts to take over the right side, which is emotional. It starts to turn the Hulk into Dr. Banner. Then you can have a conversation. It does it for you, it does it for them. There's no penalty for getting it wrong. If you mislabel, they'll tell you. And you just start over. In fact, they'll appreciate the chance to say no. No is empowering. And when you get it right, well, you have alignment. Suddenly, you hear those magic words. That's right. That's right is your signal that there's been a shift. You're right means they're just trying to get rid of you. That's right. So the key to always being in negotiation is to always be listening. Slow it down, mirror, label. Those 3 things will help you build trust. And when you build trust enough, you can just ask for what you want and it'll come to you. Just like that. How you negotiate matters because we're modeling. They grow up fast. We also can make this a practice all the time, every day. Just practice listening. Use the tactical empathy until it becomes second nature. And you'll be a star. Thank you. You can find me on medium.com and all fine social media.
Thanks, Taj. I was backstage frantically trying to pronounce the next speaker's name without messing up. And then I heard you guys applauding. I'm like, oh shit! And he wasn't done. So the next speaker for the evening, ready, is Jenna Ozel. Thank you. Her talk is better than my pronunciation of her name. If she was ever to open her own restaurant, she said it would be named Clear Alcohol is Only for Rich Women, I believe. And she said that would be the only way it would be allowed to be said, and all of the staff would have to introduce people using the full title, which I think is glorious. You know what, we're gonna just have a little timeout human moment. Is this where people are supposed to be standing, Ethan? Yes, no, maybe? They aren't even back there. All right. Thank you. God damn, you are fabulous. Hashtag you got this. Okay. And then the other thing that she said, guilty pleasure is saying no to invitations even though she's not doing anything anyway. now that I've talked your ear off, let's bring out Jenna Ozel.
Many people will casually ask themselves the question like this every single morning. I don't know about you, but I was asking myself this question all day today. A lot of people will say, oh, he's crazy or he's mentally ill. And the problem with that, not only is that super problematic for people who actually have mental illnesses, but the thing is, I have had a revelation. The way that the townspeople in Beauty and the Beast fawn over a guy like Gaston is the exact same reason why they fawn over Donald Trump. It's toxic masculinity and our culture's support of these types of ideals. Now, of course, this is not saying that being a man is bad, and I'm not gonna talk at you for the next 5 minutes about how sexism defined the election, even though it totally did, but when I say toxic masculinity, I mean things that we ourselves do, like telling our sons that they can't wear skirts or nail polish or things like that, and telling them to man up when they cry. You know what that kind of stuff does? It turns us into the kind of people who would elect a man like this. That's what it does. So to men like Gaston and Donald Trump, everything is about power. Everything is about admiration. It's about pride. Now, Gaston does this via how big and strong he is and how much he's a hunter and he provides things. Trump, not necessarily a physical specimen that we're gonna be lusting after necessarily, but he does try and use this. He's very concerned that you know that his hair is real and that his hands are not too small. He really wants you to know that. But where that kind of stuff becomes toxic for Gaston is antlers in all of his decorating. Donald Trump uses the American culture of admiration for rich people to do basically exactly the same thing. We admire these traits. Now, we know the man has a complicated relationship with women. That is one way to put it. But Donald Trump is the kind of guy that treats women as trophies for him to bolster himself up. And how do we know this? Well, the type of guy like Gaston says, she's the most beautiful girl in town, and that makes her the best. Donald Trump runs a beauty pageant, so if you want to fight me on that one, we can talk outside, but that's the same thing right there. Now, both of these two have a real problem with consent. Gaston shows up to Belle's house with a wedding party already planned, and, Donald Trump brags about assaulting women. Neither of them are ever more upset or erratic than if they have been humiliated by a girl. Neither of them can handle that. Now, even the filmmakers recognized this when they were making the new movie. In 1991, this scene includes the villagers just kind of singing the chorus. In the new movie, they responded by Gaston singing, "Call it war, call it threat, you can bet they all will follow, for in times like this they'll do just as I say." Well, what did that do? That turned our friends and neighbors into a screaming mob. Where else have we seen that kind of thing that Gaston can make the villagers do? Now, hey, you know what? Nobody asked my opinion on updates to lyrics for the new movie, but I would go with this one that admittedly a friend sent me. No one's droll like Gaston, no one trolls like Gaston, no one fits his assigned gender role like Gaston. He's especially fond of the patriarchy. I could go on for hours describing the similarities between the two of them, and I probably wouldn't be able to cover it. The thing is, Beauty and the Beast is ultimately a story about transformation. It is about returning those types of negative traits that toxic masculinity treats people. It's about turning them away. The Beast is so much more tolerable, though still, of course, very problematic. There's the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing, but I don't have time. He is so much more tolerable because he has recognized at least a vast majority of these things, and he has decided to call it out. What I ask of each person in this room is to never tell your sons to man up. It is to never tell them that any emotion that is not anger is okay, because guess what? We cannot march our way out of the repercussions of 2016. If we want to make America dope again, then we need to be counting on this kind of behavior in our own lives and saying it's not okay. Thank you.
Jenna Ozel. That was therapeutic. That was really nice. Thank you, Jenna. You ever been binge watching something creepy on Netflix and you're like, God, I'm glad that's not real life. And now it is. So, it's wow. That's so good to see. Okay, so our next presenter, what she'll be presenting is a surprise. So I don't even really know what's going to happen. But she's getting ready backstage. She's meditating so hard she's almost levitating. And she's super excited about this. Let me just tell you, though, she's won already, and she will with you once I tell you that she's a case manager for the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. So you're good. You're good, Amanda. If you don't want to do this, you're good. They already applauded. So please give it up, Ignite Denver. Thank you for coming out, by the way. This is Amanda Gold.
Hello. This is my dad. He is kind, generous, funny, smart. He has so much integrity, and he's taught me so much about how to be a good person. This is my dad, and he's a great dad, but I didn't always appreciate him when I was younger. My parents got divorced when I was 5. I was raised in an abusive household, and I was away from my dad. We didn't get to see him very much. I was scared, angry, lonely. I actually became suicidally depressed at a very early age. I was so confused. There was a point even when I thought I hated my dad. I thought he didn't love me, and I just wanted to be with him, but I just didn't know what was going on. Everything just kind of sucked. But yeah, so this is me. This is what happens with that, right? That's me passed out at a bar. I was 15, I went to live with him, and I found drugs and alcohol, and everything fell apart. I ran away from home. He was terrified, but I was too damaged to care. For 16 years, I was on the streets in abusive relationships. I lived a wretched existence. And the whole time, my dad tried to warn me about the hardships that I was heading for, but I wasn't a good listener then. I was very defensive. I was full of rage and just profoundly unhappy. Nothing really got through, although he did continue to try. Sometimes he had to distance himself, but he always came back. So it wasn't until I got sober until I could finally hear that he had been with me the whole time and he had tried the whole time. Today I'm over 3 years sober and loving it. Yeah! It kicks ass. So my dad has always guided me, and he's always tried to help me. And what I think is amazing is how much he really taught me, even when it seemed that I was completely oblivious. This is what I heard when I wasn't listening. Wait for it. Once I stole a library book. He taught me to be honest, even if it hurts. I stole that library book, and he helped me return it. And when we did, he slipped a $20 bill in the pages. I thought it was so ridiculously wasteful at the time, but now I appreciate it on a bigger level. He always is willing to apologize, and he will have those difficult conversations that most people run from because he knows they forge deeper bonds. And I admire that strength and humility that it takes to do that. He taught me that my brain is like a bucking bronco, and that I, instead of being whipped and trampled by my negative thinking, by fear, by depression, that I can grab those reins, take control of my own mental health, shift my mindset, and make my brain work for me. He's a great traveler, he's adventurous, and I have watched him my whole life use discipline and hard work mixed with a healthy dose of risk to set huge goals and achieve them. And he's always inspired me to strive for more growth and excellence in my life. He's taught me critical thought. He's taught me how to express myself. And when I would get so frustrated that I couldn't say exactly what I wanted to say, he said, "Don't worry, you're doing just fine, and your words do have value." He's silly and fun, and he's really great at giving gifts. And he's taught me to think of other people and remember them and remember their special moments, because being able to brighten someone else's day is a really big deal. And he taught me how to be good at it. So the list of things that my awesome dad has taught me could just go on and on. I only have 5 minutes. So I'm here because I know he worried a lot. I know he wondered if he was doing enough, if he did the right thing. I know he carried a lot of guilt for things that were not his fault. And I was very hard to love for many years, and I am still a work in progress. But I know that my dad, he kept me alive. He sustained me. His love sustained me, and a lot got through when he thought nothing was. And so I want to offer some encouragement for anyone out there who is going through a similar struggle. Think of someone you love, someone who's depressed, maybe homeless, struggling with something that you don't understand and that you feel powerless to help with. Do not give up on them, please. Whatever you do, believe that your kindness matters, your patience, your presence, your persistence. They do see it, and it does matter. I know that it hurts to watch someone live a way that's harmful, but don't give up. Believe that from the bottom of your heart, love them with all your might, even if they can't love you back, because no one is beyond hope. I am standing here as proof of that. Dad, I love you so much. Thank you. I am standing here. I'm not done. I am standing here because of my dad. And thank you. Now I'm done. Thank you. I would just like to share a little postscript to this story. When I decided to submit a Spark, my dad, he moved to Australia a while back. And the stars kind of aligned, and he actually is here today. He's flying home tomorrow, but he's here, and I'd love to just, I love you! Happy Father's Day, early. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi, Amanda's dad.
Where do you get your library books and where do you return them and what did you just read?
You just took a moment and you shat on it.
I know, I'm sorry. It's a lot of pressure to follow that Amanda Gold. Hey, go be funny, Baldy. After that touching moment. Anyway.
What?
Hey.
Hey, guys. Name.com.
That's my soul. That's it right there. Good place to go. For domain names and stuff.
He works there.
Yeah.
Yep. Guess what? It's intermission, ladies and gentlemen. We are only halfway through.
We have peanut butter sandwiches.
Of the fancy variety. Feel free to take a break at this time. Please continue tweeting or taking pictures or meeting strangers. All of these things need to happen. We will be back in 15 minutes. Bye-bye.
Bright light city, gonna set my soul on fire. The new king.
Not kidding.
We all tend to drift.
We got to walk forward. We keep doing this. By the way, woo, Cat Atwell. Hey, Brenton. Yeah, hey, Joe. This is like romper room. There's Mike and Sally. There's Brooke up there. Hi. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Hey, guess what this time is? It's not talking time.
Well, you did the Marco Polo thing.
I did.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Marco!
Are you guys having a good time? Eating good food, meeting kick-ass people, all those things? All right, perfect. Are you thinking that we together make a fabulous duo?
Yeah.
Hashtag you got this. Okay. By the way, big ups to Shaughnessy, who actually texted me to tell me I had a large thread hanging off of my dress. Feel free, if anything is hanging out of my nose, or if you hear Jared fart on stage, tweet it. Just
share.
let everybody know. Yeah, we have no secrets.
None at all, as you could tell.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, we have a lot on our next speaker.
Yes, we have a lot to say.
Everybody settled down?
I think we're settled.
Okay. This, let me just pique everybody's interest.
All right, our job is done.
All right. If you don't know Tammy, she's a self-described magazine whore. Was she in a magazine? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Was this a spread? I don't know.
I don't know if she's a magazine whore or
She
a
likes the
magazine
smell
whore.
of chlorine and warm laundry coming out of the dryer.
No, chlorine. So if she smells a swimming pool or whites coming out of the dryer, it's a huge turn on for her.
That's amazing.
Weird. So weird. Her favorite place is the Botanic Gardens, and I'm going to screw this up. By the way, I've forgotten. I know Carlin also put down Botanic Gardens as her favorite place. We're giving free press to the Botanic Gardens, is what I'm saying.
They deserve it.
They're pretty awesome. So she said the Hive for a nosh. I can't remember the second one.
She's part of some kind of sorority.
Oh yeah, the Ladies Auxiliary, the Rising Eastern Star, the Yellow Jacket.
No, Order of the Eastern Star.
She's a dues-paying member. She
Yeah.
wrote a lot. She's a little chatty and is not a small personality, just to warn you. She and I picked up on each other at a book signing about a year and a half ago, and since then I haven't been able to shake her, and thank God for that.
She already had to tell me that she's married, but I know her husband's out here. I guess you're used to her flirting, so.
And she does it really well, sir.
Yeah, we didn't know which one she was hitting on, but we both felt good about ourselves.
It was me.
It's clearly me.
It was
She was
whatever.
doing-
Okay, hey, enough of us.
All right.
Let's have Tammy Abramovich come out now.
Tammy.
Thank you. Thank you and good evening. My story starts right here on this stage 14 years ago when we rented the Oriental Theatre for a circus-themed, talent show-inspired 40th birthday party. There were 16 acts and 2 bands, and I did a monologue called "My Vagina Isn't Jewish." So you thought that the show was called The Big Top, but here I am in mine. When people said, "What do you want for your birthday?" I said, "Chocolate and liquor and cigars and cash. If you want to give me money, I'm going to buy a Maddie after this is all over." So here's how my love story started with Maddie. It came with a little postcard in the mail called "Dick in a Box." I was in love with him, and I set out to find the artist. Turns out she lived right down the street. The next piece that I acquired was called The Cocktail Party. It was another little card because it was all I could afford at the time. Some of the folks in this picture are in the audience tonight, and we won't name names, but the woman talking loudly to no one is one of my absolute favorites. This is the first piece that I paid any real money for. She's called Chicken Boots, or Chick in Boots. She is painted in the Sumi style of Japanese ink painting, and she's also a shinkolei. Her little sexy bits are made out of handmade paper. I owned and operated a ceramic studio in the mid-90s. Maddie was a frequent Monday night paint club member. She gifted me with this clam with linguine sauce. My twin 16-year-old boys will not eat out of it. Now, this picture is important, this painting, because it was the first time I realized I could buy a diminutive oil and frame it out in a beautiful complementary fabric the way Maddie did. This is a trick for all of you. My next major purchase was the Pears. It's a little 1 foot by 1 foot that was framed out into a 3 foot by 3 foot. It has a big presence in my home, and it's still one of my favorites to this day. So, coming up next, we have the Friendship Pagoda Nude. Maddie says this was painted during her curly period. Note her little boobies and her pubes and everything curly about her. Maddie was clearly very happy at this point in her life. My beloved husband and I spent 5 years trying to get pregnant. And when we finally did, Maddie gifted us with this painting called "And Then There Were Three." The joke was on her because we were having twins. The pregnancy didn't go any better than the trying to get pregnant, and I spent 4 weeks in the hospital at Rose on bed rest. Maddie and a lot of friends here in the audience came during that time, and Maddie decided to leave this picture with me. I call her Paloma. The lactation nurse named her Paloma Engorged. This is Pearl. She's painted on sand in the cave-style painting and also historical portraiture, where women showed up with their best clothes and best jewelry. The thing is, those pearls aren't her best thing. Her little dog was named Pearl. And here is the pincher. The pincher epitomizes my 20s. You know what I mean. The next painting that's coming up epitomizes my 30s, and she's also called Pearl. She's got those beautiful Matisse leaves behind her, and she's a little more buttoned up, a little more elegant, a little more 30s. And then we've got the 40s, which is called Woman with Cat, and it was the piece that I purchased with my birthday money. She's painted in the style of Madonna and Child, because Maddie's funny like that. All three of these girls live together on a wall in my home, and they make me so happy. This is where I'm going next, menopause woman. Look at her. She's got on bangles and high heels and just out there getting it. She's got that fat pad she's going to live off of for the rest of her life. God, I love her. I wouldn't be complete without showing you a decorative piece. I always wanted a chair in my kitchen, and so I found this piece in Maddie's garage and hung it over my bar. I can't tell you how happy it makes me to have an oil painting of a chair in my kitchen and serving drinks. To finish, this is the masterpiece of my collection. She's called Woman with Petey. She's a big, bodacious little dog that still lives with the artist. She's painted in a flattened pattern perspective, and she's truly the masterpiece of my collection. So here's Maddie. Here's the artist. She's in the room tonight. Maddie, stand up and wave. So I'm just gonna finish with this. My encouragement to you, my admonishment to you is to admire art and acquire art. And maybe if you're really, really lucky, you'll get a fabulous friend out of it. Thank you.
People throw around the word diva a lot, and I think you just saw one in real life. Thank you, Tammy. That was awesome. I kind of want to be her friend, you know? I don't know, it'd be really awesome to hang out or just have a statue of her in my living room and drink to her like Dionysus. But thank you. Thank you. I just need a recording of that on my iPhone. I can hear that all day long, especially dealing with my kids. Okay, this is weird. Our next person, I'm not saying you have to try to live up to these people because it's like a nobility pageant here tonight. Our next person teaches at DU and teaches courses in humanitarian aid. And when asked what kind of restaurant she would start, it's a plant-based kitchen that could compete with McDonald's. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. So try not to be intimidated. Just kick back and learn. For our next presenter, please Ignite Denver. Give it up to Karen Stewart.
All right, 2005, north of Nigeria, 2 men have been convicted of sodomy and sentenced in the high courts to death by stoning. I am shocked and horrified. The next day I arrive at the clinic. I am astounded as I overhear my colleagues at work. They are all pedophiles. Imprison them for life. They all deserve to be killed. I had been working with Doctors Without Borders for the past 12 months in Lagos, Nigeria, for the HIV/AIDS clinic. The staff consisted of 50 people, over 90% Nigerians. I loved my staff. I loved the team. They were like my family. We shared our challenges together. We witnessed death. We saw miraculous recoveries. They were caring people. Some of the staff were HIV positive. We had discussed the wrongful stigma and discrimination they faced. But what of this intolerance and contempt for gays and lesbians? What of the incongruence? I felt I needed to combat this tremendous fear, hate, and misunderstanding. I made a decision. I would say the words aloud, I am a lesbian. I knew I needed to give people time to process what I was going to tell them, and I couldn't be the boss lady. So I waited a few weeks and handed off my supervisor position. This was not about me. This was not about coming out. This was about education, trust, tolerance, friendship. That team, my team, needed to know that they had liked, known, and some even loved a lesbian. I knew out of respect I must first tell our chief matron, Mrs. Abuku. She was concerned that the staff reactions would be hurtful to me. She gave me directives on who to tell and who not to tell. Not Rita, she yelled. Rita was a nurse who loudly supported that all homosexuals should die. At 11 o'clock that night, I got a call. Hello, Karen. This is Mr. Abuku. My heart dropped. Don't tell, was his message. I was very unsettled. The following day, I arrived at the clinic, scared, actually terrified, but ready. I took people 2 to 3 together, one from the Rita camp, one with a broader worldview, and one I was uncertain about. The responses were varied. You seem like a tomboy. Are all lesbians tomboys? I've never met one before. You've never come on to me. You've never touched me. You don't hate men. When I spoke with Rita, she was indeed very angry. She asked, who instigated this? How did this happen? We sat for an hour. At the end, she said, if you are happy, but ultimately she was filled with sorrow. The day continued as I took people into the telling room. We just don't have this in Nigeria. You don't act like one. And many, God will save you. I will pray for you. Several people said I must trust them as trusted friends to share such a secret. Some even said, you are still my friend. You are still Karen. I still love you. The following day, I returned to the clinic. What had I done? Had I shattered the bond with these people? I came in, eyes down, careful not to appear looking or interested in anyone. Mid-morning, Mrs. Abuku arrived. Would she be angry? I spoke the unspeakable. Would she admonish me? No. She came directly to me and gave me a full hug. I did not reciprocate. She shook me. What's wrong with you? Hug me. I gently hugged her back. She then began to move my body in her arms, dancing, yes, dancing, in the hallway. Staff and patients all around laughing and clapping. Again, I stiffened, still frightened. She shook me. Dance with me. And I did just that as tears rolled down my face. Thank you.
I slow danced in middle school.
Hey, Jared. Come here. I'm going to show everybody how I used to slow dance. We're going to do the lift. Okay. This is middle school.
Okay, what are we doing? Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Jared. Oh, hey. What? All right. It's kind of weird because he's sort of like my brother, so we almost hit an awkward moment. Okay. It's true. By the way, my friend Laura texted me and said she was sitting stage left. And yeah, okay, and she's laughing. And we were both complimenting each other. And she said, hashtag girl fight compliments or something like that, because we compliment each other. And by the way, you look fabulous. Yeah. So our next speaker is Lily Nussbaum. Obviously, I love her because her name is Lily, as is my daughter's, and also because she's fabulous and she's very brave. Not only because of the presentation she's supposed to give, but because she was honest about her guilty pleasure. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when you go into interviews and they're like, well, you know, what's your greatest weakness? It's like, sometimes I'm a perfectionist, or I just try too hard. You know, you know what I'm talking about because you've done it too. And, and so a lot of people with their guilty pleasures, no offense, Carlin, but it was like, I like chocolate and peanut butter. Well, whoop-de-doo, nobody else does that. But you know what Lily does? She watches The Bachelor and shared it with me. She did. Be brave, Lily Nussbaum, and please give a big round of applause for her as she comes out here.
One in 6 women and 1 in 33 men are victims of sexual violence. So I'm sure that there are people in this room other than me who have experienced that kind of trauma. And if you haven't, I want you to take a second to imagine what that would be like. Because then it gets harder in the courtroom. And a lot of times, the courtroom isn't a choice, though a lot of perpetrators don't end up there. A lot of times it's an issue of safety, and it's a civil courtroom rather than a criminal one. So in the civil courtroom, the end goal is a protection order, not jail time. And it's a room full of strangers who are hearing your story, not just a jury. And there are no shield laws that can keep people from asking about your sexual history. And there are no attorneys appointed to either party, so money becomes even more of an issue. So at this point, it seems kind of hopeless because the criminal justice system isn't quite up to par, and Title IX at colleges and universities is getting better, but it's not quite there. But it can get kind of worse because, like I said, there aren't attorneys appointed. So then the perpetrator is the one questioning the victim, and they're the one asking the questions like, well, didn't you ask for it? Weren't you drinking? And as a survivor, I know that I already ask myself questions all the time, and that would be so much worse. So there has to be some way that the legal system addresses this. And there kind of is. There's a buzzword that they use, which is trauma-informed. And there are a lot of trauma-informed actors in the legal system. So first, there are lawyers, who are the ones who directly interact with survivors. And they should definitely be trauma-informed, but they can take continued legal education on copyright law as a divorce attorney and vice versa. So that's not really being trauma-informed. Judges should also be trauma-informed, especially in the civil courtroom where they're the ones mediating and ultimately making a decision. But they have judicial trainings that aren't required, and even if they go, they don't have to listen. And then as far as first responders, they really should be trained in how to respond to sexual assaults, but the police officers aren't really trained to respond to that sort of thing. And the first response is honestly what makes all the difference in going forward in a case. So especially with turnover then in the legal system, there are just a lot of moving parts and a lot of people with a lot of different experiences that make it really hard for everything to match up in a way that really supports survivors. So thinking back to like how it would feel to be traumatized in the first place, think again about how it would feel to be re-traumatized again and again by a system and by people who are supposed to be supporting you. And then the question is how we can help, because there are so many people in this room right now, and it seems like there should be some way that we can make a difference if all of us helped. So the first thing is honestly to listen, because of all those legal actors, the ones that aren't talked about are the friends, the family members, the classmates, the ones who hear the stories, and who can be the first responders instead of police officers. And what we need to do is we need to listen to those stories and not dismiss them and believe them, because that makes a huge difference in telling someone that their story is valid. Because like as much as going through policy and making shield laws implemented in civil courts, and all of that stuff can help. The change needs to happen on a societal level, because we live in a society that doesn't believe or support survivors, and that needs to change. And if we start to believe survivors now, then that can really start to make a difference. And that can trickle down to children, who are really the ones who need to learn that no means no, and that yes means yes, and that their stories are valid. Because eventually they'll grow up and they will be the police officers, and they'll be the lawyers, and they'll be the judges, and they will be the family members, the co-workers, and the friends who are listening to these stories. Thank you so much.
Lily Nussbaum. That's what we say. We say enlighten us, but make it quick. And these are the things you don't hear much about. So thank you, Lily. We are enlightened. That was great information. Greatly appreciated. You can tell your friends you've won the intellectual lottery tonight just by being here. You've been learning new things, which you're about to do with our next speaker, who's a charming fellow who, as I was about to come out here, whispered into my ear like a creepy nightmare, you'd better be really funny. What is that? It was like a terrible start to a date. But, so I'm just going to get him on stage here pretty quickly. A couple things about this guy. He was asked what his dream job would be or something like that, and he said, a naked cello virtuoso. The more I thought about that, at first I was like, whoa, and then I was like, that'd be awkward. So, ma. So, but here's the thing. We're going to want to be nice to this guy. His parents have an avocado farm in Southern California. Yeah. And I don't want to dig into his fiscal issues, but they must be killing it with that avocado upcharge they have everywhere now. He may be part of the avocado mafia. So you just laugh and clap, unless it's supposed to be dark and gloomy. Just respond emotionally appropriately, because you could get free avocados, or maybe avoid paying $3.50 for your extra for guacamole. So I'm just going kind of spiraling. I feel like Donald Trump must when he's trying to make a point, and he just starts doing word association, Okay, that's what happens when you whisper in my ear like that. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, please, yes, he is part of an avocado family, and he's going to come out here and enlighten you. Please give it up to Bryan Peterson. Bryan!
Thank you. Hey, good evening. I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. Before I get started, I'd love to know who in this room believes there's no such thing as a stupid question. Go ahead, raise your hand. Looks like about half of you, maybe. I can't see in the balcony. I actually believe there are stupid questions. And I also believe there's incredible value in us asking those stupid questions. In fact, I'm going to make a case tonight for why we should ask more of them. All right, so here's my hypothesis. Asking our stupid questions makes us smarter. Okay, let me say that again. Asking our stupid questions makes us smarter. All right, and I'm going to demonstrate this by starting with a question. Who knows where the Great Wall of China is? This is not a trick question. Go ahead, where? China. Who said that? Yes, you are right. The Great Wall of China is indeed in China. And as basic or stupid as that question may seem, I want us to consider for a second how that makes us smarter. All right, so think about it for a second. What other questions does that question prompt you to ask? I'm going to try and listen. How long is it? What else? Oh, what part of China? Where the unicorn? I don't know anything about the unicorn. What's it made out of? Okay, so I'll circle back to this in a second. The point is this. Sometimes it's these basic or stupid questions that are needed to uncover the many layers of learning and understanding. And they often surface even better questions to ask. All right, so we're going to circle back to the Great Wall of China here in a second. So we've all been there. Okay, we've been in a class or a meeting where a presenter or a professor is speaking about something that's maybe foreign to us, something's over our head. They're using acronyms and terminology we don't understand. And occasionally they make that eye contact with you. You know, they're like, "Are you with me?" head nod. Yeah, yeah. And instinctively we give them the, "Yeah, I'm with you." And that goes on back and forth for a while. And then the presenter or the professor or whoever closes with a slightly insincere, "Are there any questions?" And we shake our head no. Class dismissed, meeting adjourned. Right? But more often than not, the majority of us in that room do have questions, but we don't ask them. Why not? Fear. We are scared of what others may think. And because no one else raised their hand, we mistakenly assume that we're the only one that's not in the know. So we bite our tongues and we don't ask our questions. You see, when you have the courage to ask your question, it acts like a spark, right? When you have the courage to raise your hand and say, "Yes, I do have a question," it actually gives freedom to everyone else in the room. So here's where I'm going to challenge you, is to be that spark, to raise your hand, take the risk, and ask your question. What do you have to lose? See, it's not until someone asks, "Where is the Great Wall of China?" that we all learn that the Great Wall of China is 5,500 feet or 500 miles long. Literally double the width of the United States. Did you guys know that? Some of you did. By asking our potentially stupid questions, right, it brings focus. More questions, more clarity, more understanding. When you ask that stupid question, it not only makes you the smartest person in the room, it makes everyone else smarter. So step up, be a leader, ask that question, and you know what? We will all be smarter and better off because you did. Thank you.
I was about to go in for a hug and he kept going, and that was awkward. Tell me that's not like the freaking sexiest picture on a final slide ever. I told him, I'm like, "Could you just go like this? And like this? Check that out." Okay. The next, oh gosh, darn it. Okay. I'm fine and poised. How you doing? I got this. God damn, I love you. Okay. You guys are going to have to step it up in the other areas of the theater. I'm just saying. Okay, I can do it. This is just a giant ego boost for me. So then, enough about me though. Yes, I am. Thank you. And I will say I feel pretty freaking amazing in my $9 Ross dress. Yeah, you like that? Each Ignite, I try and wear less clothing because it's so freaking hot. I know that you guys didn't notice, but it's a little warm. We now have a fan backstage, and when I stand in front of it, I make a really good picture. Our next speaker for the evening is Joe Shahuri. And in his little questionnaire, he said that he would certainly choose sushi, unlimited sushi over unlimited tacos, by the way. That was the question. And it was pretty evenly split. And he said specifically Hapa Sushi for their happy hour. And he's like, "I'm not meaning to pimp it, but oh, the deals with the Z at the end." So check that out. And his guilty pleasures make me feel dumb. His guilty pleasures include port wine,
podcasts, and thrifting. My guilty pleasures include walking around my house without my pants on, occasionally flossing with my own hair, and watching any tween movie on Netflix. So same. So please, it is time to bring out Joe, one of my lovely friends. He is phenomenal. I'm very excited for you to meet him.
Wow, no pants. That's exciting. Hey. Everybody, how we doing out there tonight? Woo! Man, that's a blanket of love right there. I'm so humbled and deeply appreciative of everyone that showed up and all of the new friends over on this side of the house. So, can you imagine a time you felt like this grinning little Goomba over here? I definitely can. That's not me, don't worry. I wasn't blonde as a kid. Right after I got the call, my dream job was on the other line. The day I landed the gig, though, my car got towed. I didn't read the no parking sign. In a weird way, that day was the perfect metaphor for how the next 3 years of my life would unfold. Growing up, I always dreamed of making it big. And in my kindergarten commencement speech, I boldly declared that one day I'd be the president. Fast forward, at 24, I see a job on the internet that promises I could get paid to fly around the world, hobnob with prestigious executives, and eat in 5-star restaurants every day. Naturally, I thought it was a bit of a scam. This ad basically says, apply here to become the most interesting man in the world. So what do you guys think I did? Obviously, I applied. And 2 years into the most interesting job in the world, the promise was kept. I got to peer into the cutting edge of 3D printing technology. I got to lift the Super Bowl trophy over my head in the Seattle Seahawks locker room. I got to make unforgettable blunders like accidentally shitting on Japanese business customs. So guys, apparently you can't just walk up to the COO of a major Japanese company and ask for a business card, and if you do, he'll look at you, smile, and go, no. This job was incredible, but I never realized I'd have to make so many sacrifices. There are only so many times when you can be in Tokyo for mom's 58th birthday. There are only so many times grandma turns 80 without you. And there are only so many times you can turn your body's sleep schedule, your body's biological operating system upside down to cater to clients in Spain and colleagues in Singapore. Not to mention the 14-hour workdays, whether I was home or abroad. You know what I'm talking about, Levi. So I started to realize what actually matters to me is my family, my relationships, my health and well-being, basically everything I wasn't focusing on at the time. It all cracked one day in San Francisco when I found myself in the back of an Uber freestyle rapping with the head honcho of one of the world's biggest companies. Neither of us is Drake, but we had a blast. And Drake can't freestyle, by the way. We connected because in that moment, I wasn't work Joe. I was just Joe, the same Joe my friends get every Sunday afternoon. And that's the Joe I strive to be. So I started asking myself painful, scary questions. And eventually, I quit. Crap, what would I talk about at dinner parties? How would I support myself? What would I do with all that free time? Well, I'll tell you exactly what I can do now. Now, I can overeat at Thanksgiving with my family. Now, I can say yes to a random Tuesday afternoon walk with my best friend. Now, I can look my girlfriend in the eyes, who was on the last slide, and say, I love you, every anniversary. It took leaving my dream job to understand that we're all so much more than what's on the back of a business card. You see, we are the sum of our hopes and our dreams and our Sunday afternoon hobbies. Our self-worth and our net worth were never meant to be synonymous. As a mentor once told me, we're human beings, not human doings. And that truth was crystal clear every time a business hotshot would get off stage, pull me aside and ask, hey kid, how'd I do? We all want to be liked and appreciated. And that's just human nature. So guys, my story is to say this. It's who you are, not what you do, that opens hearts and minds. I believe in connection, generosity, and trust. And I believe that we each have the power to change at least one person. I believe we have the power to connect at the heart, to transform, and that power, that's the actual mark of success, especially when the person we're connecting with is ourselves. The day I left my dream job, I finally started my dream life. So now to you, what's your dream life? Are you living it? And if not, my question is, when will you start? Thank you.
Joe, you're a beautiful human. Who got a flower from Joe before the show? I know, guys. It's like a very busy version of The Bachelor. Like everybody's getting a flower. This is a long night. Oh, thank you so much, Joe. I need to pimp a couple things here. We've got, I think, 15 minutes left on the food truck. So it's okay if you quietly sneak out and get a snack. It's there for you at your convenience for the next 15 minutes. And of course, be tweeting and stuff. You remember you used to go to a show and they're like, put away your phones, we will not tolerate this. And they're like, please talk about us, please. So hashtag Ignite Denver. And if you wouldn't mind, I do this thing. My kids' names are Quinn, Otto, and Elliot. And it is about this time where when I leave my wife at home with all three of them, that I like to provide what I think is help. It makes me feel good. So if on the count of three, you could all say together, get ready for bed, Quinn, Otto, and Elliot. I'm going to send this video to them. Okay, I'm going to go to start this now and do a big selfie here. Okay, can you do just a touch of house lights? Can you just do just a touch? Just a touch. There we go. Okay, there we go. Wow. Oh, hey, everybody. That's amazing. Okay, did you all get that? So we're going to go get ready for bed, Quinn, Otto, and Elliot. All right, here. Oh, wait, I just turned off the camera. God. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Get ready for bed, Quinn, Otto, and Elliot. Well done. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause there. Very good. Honey, I did my part. I don't know what you're complaining about. Okay, our next speaker, he grew up and he was short. But he overcame that by also being slow. And maybe that's how he became an analyst. Because he sits and he studies and he learns things. And let me tell you, one time, my grandma said, if you want people to like you, act interested in what they do. And so I did that. I could hear my grandma's voice. And there was this guy, and he was talking about blockchain technology. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And like 2.5 hours later, there was a tendril of drool hanging from my face as he tried to explain exactly what this amazing technology is. And now Bruce Daley is going to try to do it in 5 minutes. So please give it up for Mr. Bruce Daley.
Woo. Thank you so much. So we talked about lust, we've talked about sloth. Now it's time to get a little greed into it so we can get all the 7 deadly sins in. With respect to Bryan, I'm going to ask a stupid question. And that stupid question is, what's the difference between blockchain and Bitcoin? And I thought about this because I was writing a book called Where Data is Wealth. And the 2 things I took away from that was, first, we're digitizing everything of value in our society. So naturally I became interested in blockchain and Bitcoin because I think it's really possible that someone might have invented a better mousetrap. And that's important because only 4% of our cash is actually in the form of paper. 96% of it is electronic. Now, blockchain is a theory. Blockchain is an idea. Blockchain is a process. It's a method. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is an application of that theory. Bitcoin has practical uses. Bitcoin is a record made using blockchain of exchanges that people are making with one another. Now, when you take a look at this, what's really closest in an analogy is double entry bookkeeping. So blockchain is a method of keeping records. Double entry bookkeeping is a method of record keeping. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is more like a balance sheet. So it's more like IBM's annual balance statement. So it's actually a practice, and it's got a lot of things that are unique to it that are different. Now, why blockchain is so powerful is because it's peer-to-peer. And that's a problem I'm going to discuss later when we talk about what some problems with our current financial system are. Now, with cash, I can give it to the person next to me, and that's fine. But if I want to charge them my credit card, I have to go through a central authority. So Bitcoin really works like everyone has a bank on their phone or their laptop. So as you can see, Bitcoin, there's no central area to exchange value. Another advantage that blockchain has is that blockchain's scalable. That means that you could have billions of people use it on the one hand, and on the other hand, you could do transactions that are so small they could be worthwhile even for electronic commerce. So an example of Bitcoin actually now is worth about $29 billion, and on the day that I brought this data down, it had thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions. Now, another advantage of blockchain is that it's transparent. Everybody sees everybody else's records. So everybody has a copy of everybody else's transactions, which promotes honesty. And an example of that in Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is actually open source software. So anyone can download it, anyone can see it, anyone can really figure out exactly what's going on with Bitcoin. Now, another advantage that blockchain has is it can be private. So even though everyone has a record, that record is encrypted. That record is constituted in such a way that even though you know what the record says, you don't know who it's associated with. And that's important because stealing Bitcoin is the perfect crime. All these James Bond villains wouldn't screw around with nuclear weapons. They're messy, they're dangerous. They would be trying to steal Bitcoin because as far as I know, no one's ever been prosecuted for it. Blockchain is also mutable. Blockchain is also something that you can use for more things than just currency. It can be used for any type of record keeping, for votes, for medical records, for contracts. So Bitcoin, by the same token, there are over 700 blockchain currencies, and new currencies are being invented every day, which I think is a great example of blockchain's mutability. Now, this is important because we have a problem with our financial system. That problem is trust. The double entry bookkeeping method requires that you trust the person who holds your money, and when that person's a crook like Bernie Madoff, we lose that trust. So if you think about what the future is, I don't know if anyone here owns any Bitcoin. I don't know if anyone here has ever used a blockchain record. But my prediction is in the future, someday, all of us are going to be using it to exchange value. Now, that was blockchain and Bitcoin in 5 minutes. I'm going to be giving a 2-hour presentation about the future of the money later at the Da Vinci Institute. And thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. Wow. This isn't going to cause problems. Okay. I know. Nope. All right. I was worried about the stand. Jesus. Okay. Hi. People like Bruce make me think I need to learn more about computers. Because I'll be honest, I've watched that more than once, and this has been my pace. He's so freaking smart, and for those of you that understand that, thank God, please be my friend so that you can buy me expensive things. Because this is what I do. Let's talk about Scott Slack. Scott said that he would pick sushi over tacos, but ideally he would choose a tuna sashimi taco, which sounds fancy. I picture it like in a Totitos? Nope, that's pizza. Tostitos. There's something there. He also said that he would be a naked guitar virtuoso. It was either you could learn a new language, but when you spoke it, you had to be blindfolded and dancing. Or you could become some sort of virtuoso with an instrument, but you could only play it while naked. Obviously a question that everyone asks each other. And he said because if he learned how to play guitar, the parts would be covered. So I'm like, that is much smarter than anything I would have come up with. Trying to think of what else he said. Nope, it's gone. I keep telling myself, I'm like, I've locked this down. He is very funny. I remember. See, if I kept rambling, it would come up. Guilty pleasure is watching Miami Vice reruns. It's not as good as flossing with your own hair, but it is close. Scott has a brilliant talk, and I'm really excited to bring him out on stage. So please, a big round of applause.
Kill it. Hi. So, when I was 17, I became a sex addict. It started my freshman year of NYU, and up until that point, I never even kissed a girl, and I was desperate. And so I took that desperation, and I went to the old Times Square, and I started visiting peep shows and XXX parlors. And whenever I did, I felt like ugly and disgusting. And not surprisingly, the more I felt that way, the harder it got to meet girls and have authentic friendships. So I turned to internet porn increasingly and internet chat rooms to fill that void inside myself. And the more I did, the more that void got deeper and bigger. It never got filled. And what was that void? That void inside me was a voice that said, at my core, who I was unlovable and ugly. And for 20 years, I hid this behavior from my family and my friends and my coworkers. I lied and I cheated my way through life. And I did it because I thought that if people saw the real me, my life would be over. Then, about 2 years ago, my addiction and my life unraveled, and I almost lost everything. And honestly, it was the biggest gift I ever received. Because when I looked at myself, when I saw who I was, I realized that it wasn't sex that was killing me, it was shame. I still struggle with sex addiction every day. I still struggle with feelings of shame. But in that struggle, I'm realizing a deeper truth. Who I am, my pain and my anxiety, my struggles, they're also a beautiful part of my soul. And when I lean into that, when I lean into the ugly places and the cracks and the things that I've been so ashamed of, I realize that those cracks let in the light. Those cracks let in divine wisdom. You see, I believe it's our cracks that cause us to transform. And it's our cracks that bring us to a place of true authenticity. I believe that cracks have been the cause of every artistic, philosophical, and political movement in humankind. And I know that if I'm so bold as to show you my cracks, that I can change the world. When I'm in my shame, I isolate myself. When I'm in my shame, I close myself off to divine light. And the funny thing about shame is that I also become a raging narcissist. Everything in the world when I'm in my shame is about me. Somebody looks at me funny and, oh my God, what are they thinking about me? I've climbed mountains, literally, and I've cried out to God, where are you? And I didn't hear an answer. And so I assumed I was alone in the world. Not once, while I was in my shame, did I ever stop to think that maybe it was me who was putting myself in my prison. And for 20 years, I hid who I was. And not once did I stop to think about that in hiding myself, I was feeding into a larger cultural problem. You can see that problem in the banality of social media, in the shallowness of water cooler conversations. We elevate images of perfection over authentic sharing. We too easily accept graphic, awful depictions of violence on TV every single night. And really, that's why I'm standing here tonight. If in standing here and telling my story, I can inspire one person, I can help one person, then taking this risk will have been worth it. I know from my experience that when I share from an authentic place, no matter how ugly or painful or disgusting I think it might be, I know that I'm creating healing. I'm creating healing for me. I'm creating healing for my friends and family. And in some small way, I believe I'm creating healing for the world. So, if you're having shame, if you're suffering in silence, if you've ever thought to yourself, I could never share that, take a risk. Share. If even to just one trusted friend, you might find that in sharing, you're creating connection. And in sharing that maybe you're helping to make this world a more compassionate and better place. Thank you. And I finished early. So, yeah, come get me.
Sorry, I didn't want to mess this up. You were a brave man. That was a great talk. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, don't go out there and help him. Stand like a creepy fella in the corner. It's like 12 times tonight I've ran out in the middle of people's talks because they've been killing it with applause. So, okay, thank you, Scott. That was awesome. That was great. Okay, so I think this is it. We have one more speaker, and should we just get some more speakers right out of the crowd and just keep it going? Yeah, you do it. You know, I should say the woman in the romper. Do you remember the woman in the romper? How do you forget that? She wanted to say, and she didn't, that I think, and I don't want to mess this up for you, but that bubbles are unicorn farts, right? Is that what you were? So is that? So yeah. Just imagine that. Thanks, Joe. Do you have a flower for me? Oh, you do? Oh, there's a couple more flowers. Hold on. Let me just. Hold on. Let me just get a flower. There's a lot of flowers here, actually. Were you saving these? No, just throw them out. All right, here we go. Yeah. Thanks for coming tonight. Here we go. Yeah. Everybody gets a flower. Everybody gets a flower. Here we go. I'm like my 3-year-old with dandelions. Here, Father. Here we go. Here, you get a flower. There we go. Everybody gets a flower. I'm going to throw you a bunch right there in the blue. You might want to share those. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Our next speaker, this is amazing. When you run into somebody who's a consultant for example, the Denver Police Department and the government, they won't admit to you backstage that if they were to speak a language and do a dance at the same time, it would be Spanish while she's twerking. Yeah. She's pretty awesome. She's a diversity consultant. She's a champion of equity. And we have her here tonight talking about, as you see here, what water fountain are you drinking from? Ignite Denver, you've been awesome. Please give it up for Nita Mosby Tyler.
Thank you. So my mother couldn't name me Kimberly or Betsy or Susie. She had to name me something with soul. It was Dwinita, D-W-I-N-I-T-A, a name that you couldn't pronounce or spell, and some said was too ethnic, so I am Nita. So this is where I was born, Georgia, Southern Belle, Georgia Peach, and I'm Miss Atlanta, 1978. So this next photo that pops up is Georgia, Stone Mountain. This is what I thought a mountain was. It's just a big hunk of granite, but I didn't know any better. In the middle of Atlanta, we had a great time having picnics at the bottom of the mountain while the Klan met on the top. But who knew? Here's my favorite picture. I'm the black girl. That's me. And that's Miss Ann, my ballet teacher. Miss Ann taught ballet in the black community because we were not allowed to take ballet with little white girls. I learned a lot about equity from Miss Ann. This is a very complicated picture for me because it reminds me of my past when I drank from the colored water fountain. When I was young, I wasn't sure why I drank from the colored water fountain, but it was there that I learned that there was something very different about me. I've been thinking a lot I've been thinking a lot lately about water fountains and what the artifacts of the past are in 2017, and what the colored water fountain is and what the white water fountain is too. Yep, I'm from the South, so I like pie, but I don't like this kind of pie. I don't like the fact that the smallest slice of the pie has to be shared by the greatest number of people. Those inequities piss me off. So what water fountain are we drinking from when people don't have access, when people can't get to the top, when people can't even get in? What kind of water fountain are we drinking from when we have the audacity to judge who gets to love whom and how? What kind of water fountain are we drinking from then? What kind of water fountain are we drinking from when we feel like it's hate when we see people with head coverings and are mad about who they worship with and to and for? What water fountain are we drinking from? What water fountain are we drinking from when we have the audacity to think that immigrants don't belong here and refugees don't belong here and we can't remember where the backbone of this country came from? What water fountain are we drinking from? And what water fountain are we drinking from when we forget our elders, whose shoulders we stand upon, where our sense came from, where our knowledge comes from? What water fountain are we drinking from? And what water fountain are we drinking from when we badmouth millennials and we talk about their capabilities and we say ha 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 as if they didn't carry the torch for who and what will be in the future? So here we are. I'm a Coloradan girl now. I'm still Miss Atlanta, but I can tell you this. I've learned a lot about water fountains in the state of Colorado. One thing that I can tell you about my journey in Colorado is I now know what a real mountain is. It's not a hunk of granite, and I'm not really worried about the Klan being on top for their staff meetings. It's really a beautiful thing, this Colorado. I also am showing up in some interesting ways. I think I've become the Miss Ann that I told you about a few slides back. I'm showing up in communities that aren't used to seeing people just like me and hoping to teach about equity and lift people up in ways that I was. You see, my water fountain has changed. I'm still drinking from one. There's still some problems with the water fountain, but it's got a new label on it, which is really sort of complicated, goofy, creepy, and strange. So I have some homework for you. I want you to think about this when you go back to your communities, your schools, your home. Look at your neighborhood. Take a look at the water fountains that are present in your neighborhood. What are they? What are they representing? And know this about water fountains. The signs are removable. The signs are interchangeable. And it's up to you to decide what the signs say, represent, or not. Thank you. Thank you.
I have some really bad news, you guys. Our show's over. I know. I could keep talking, though. Like hours and hours. I'm guessing you probably don't want that to happen, but we could chat later. You can call me on my phone. I will answer, not by text, with this sexy, sexy voice. I'm going to get up now and try and do it in a semi-graceful manner. Didn't fall down. Just a couple quick things. Our show is over, and we're so grateful that you came out to support our speakers, to support our program. We certainly hope that you enjoyed yourselves and will come back to see us again. After every single one of these, I'm like, this one was the best. No, this one was the best. I have met so many freaking phenomenal human beings through this, both through the audience and through the brave individuals that have gotten up to speak tonight. I'm humbled, quite frankly. I'd like to have a big round of applause, please, for our committee that put in so much time and hard work. Because they kick ass. And a wonderful thank you to the Oriental Theatre, who continues to support us. I love this place. And last but not least, that sexy, sexy man who's been, I know, there's so many, and I could be talking about any one of you later.
Except for me.
Okay, damn it. I let him have a wireless mic. I'm sorry, guys. Jared Iwi for helping me out tonight.
Please give it up for Kat Atwell. She's amazing. I appreciate it. And thank you, Ignite Denver.
We're really glad that you came. Please, if you need a ride, call Lyft or Uber or find a friend. We don't want you unsafe on the road. Or stick around and talk with people. Our speakers, I think several of them are still here. Or make new friends like my friend Molly has in the third row. Hashtag you got this. So thank you again for coming this evening. Anything you want to say?
No, if you need a ride home, hit up Vanessa Terrell on Twitter. I mean, she's going to be helping people all night.
She's a very good helper. Thank you very much for coming. Have a wonderful night.
All right, thank you.
Bye.